Good evening, everyone. I'm Kalila Reynolds, and welcome to the 5th webinar in our Courts Ready Cash Business Survivor webinar series. Tonight, we have another very interesting discussion for you. I am very much looking forward to hearing this lady give us her tips and advice on how she survived the pandemic, pivoted, and has begun to, well, let me not even say begun, how she has thrived in her business. Our guest is Jacqui Tyson. She's the CEO of From Thought to Finish. You may have heard that name. You may have seen that face. If not, you recognize that hair for sure. That's the signature hairstyle of Jacqui Tyson. And she's going to be telling us all about persistence, how to get tough when business is tough. Welcome, Jacqui.
Well, thank you. And it's great to be here.
Yes, it's great to have you. So you can see how excited I am, right, to share with Jacqui this evening. And when I think of you, I definitely think of an awesome culinary experience. I last saw you in person at probably the Nationwide Cook-Off when I used to work at Nationwide.
Yes.
And
That used to be something so amazing.
you were one of the judges or the head
I was
judge?
one of the judges, head judge. You know, we should hope it comes back.
Yeah.
I mean, Cliff Hughes cooking, Miss Kitty, oh my God.
I have my trophy. The last year, you weren't there that year, but the last year we did the cook-off, myself and Dennis Brooks, we swept the awards. We won all the awards. One of the proudest accomplishments in my entire life.
Yes.
Yeah. So before we dig in, we do want to share a few bite-sized nuggets about Jacqui. So if you are not familiar with her, if you haven't heard this name, seen this face, seen the signature hairstyle, tell people what you do, who you are, Jacqui.
I would like to say that I'm a very passionate, very focused individual, most times, if I check myself. I like to be dropped off at entrances and picked up at exits.
Oh.
I like to be driven to wherever I'm going, not because I'm uppity or I think I'm bougie, but because my focus is always in my head. So I find that I used to drive myself and then I got to places and I couldn't remember how I got there. So then I thought, listen, I got to leave the driving alone and just focus on getting there because I'm continuously creating in my head. I work all the time, sometimes too much. I'm now trying at this level, trying to create some more balance. I'm a perfectionist. I deliver more than you expect most times. Awesome, inspiring, amazing, extraordinary are my bougie words. And I am not as ferocious or fearsome as I look. When people see me and say, oh, you're always so serious. That is because I'm always thinking, what next? How to do this better?
Absolutely.
How to create an experience. And in life, it's all about creating experiences for people.
And speaking of experiences, so your company, From Thought to Finish, you specialize in, you do catering, but also event planning on a whole.
Yes, we do event planning, we do project management, we have a concierge Luke's brand. So we curate gifts, we curate experiences. So it could be a gift, it could be a promotion, it could be a street promotion, it could be somebody's birthday and you want to just have this great experience for them. We cater from 2 to almost 3,000 persons in a hat. We create recipes. We do everything in the culinary world. We train. We do gastronomy training for corporate executives, table etiquette. We do it for young children. I'm passionate about sharing my expertise with the rest of the world.
Awesome. And we'll get a chance to hear a lot of that expertise today because as you can imagine, events were one of the major industries impacted by the pandemic. So I'm curious to hear how Jacqui and her team, survived, pivoted, and overcame. But first, let me tell you a little bit about, especially if you are new to this program, let me tell you a little bit about Courts Ready Cash. Recently, they started offering loans of up to $1.5 million to small and micro businesses. It's a carefully designed product that was created for businesses just like yours, just like mine. Well, Jacqui, I don't know if you're still small business. You're probably big now.
I would still say small. I always say to the market, what do you create small and medium? And I just think I belong in the creative industry.
Yes.
And that's always an industry that needs that kind of short and quick financing.
Exactly.
And I'm so glad that Ready Cash is doing.
And it's here for businesses. So
Yes,
it
yes.
offers not just a financial solution, but also well-needed support that allows small and micro businesses to build capacity and scale up during these challenging economic times. So this webinar series is therefore one of the ways that Quartz Ready Cash is connecting with you, the business community, to add value to your operations. And our topic this evening is certainly one that we know every business operator, no matter the size, micro, small, medium, large, extra large, grande, will find extremely relevant and relatable, because that pandemic, COVID-19, which started the tail end of 2019, really the brunt of it was 2020, has changed the global business landscape in ways that no one in present day history could have ever imagined. And here in Jamaica, the experiences of our business community and our business operators would have mirrored those in other parts of the world as well. Most noticeably, like I said, industries such as events planning, entertainment, restaurants, sports would have suffered the worst fate given their shared disadvantages, including their high dependence on person-to-person interaction, naturally economies of scale, and in some cases, lack of competitiveness. So the response by small and micro and medium businesses varied. Many re-engineered their delivery channels, others changed their operations and entered into partnerships, while some, unfortunately, exited the market. On the other hand, many business operators, like Jacqui here, called on their indomitable spirit, that's a great word to describe her, by the way, and persevered to pivot from these negative outcomes and seized the opportunities that came along. So today, we will hear from our featured speaker as she shares her firsthand experiences toughing through the tough, recognizing that she won't be run over, but will continue to rise from the ashes like the phoenix that she is. But before we hear from Jacqui, let's share with you some findings from a report by the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development titled "The COVID-19 Pandemic: Impact on Micro, Small, and Medium-Sized Enterprises, Market Access Challenges, and Competition Policy." And this report was published earlier this year. The report pointed out 6 principal trends that were identified and are common across most nations. I'm going to share just 3 of them with you. 1, governments are now placing priority on propping up existing firms. Very important. 2, micro, small, and medium enterprises are moving online and seeking to enhance their ability to access markets using digital technology. I want to hear what Jacqui's thoughts on that are in just a few, because you can't eat food through the computer, right? And then 3, more and more our sector is being considered when governments are developing business policies. So this is great news. And in today's session, Persistence, How to Get Tough When Business is Tough, we are going to learn the challenges faced by MSMEs during tough times, the soft and hard skills required to take us through those tough times, and what it takes to pivot and reinvent your business during challenging times. So feel free to put your questions in the chat, and we're going to answer them before the session ends. And of course, what would a Quartz Ready Cash session be, a webinar be, without some giveaways? Yes, that's exciting news. One lucky person will be the winner of a $50,000 Quartz shopping voucher. But you have to stick around to the end to know who that lucky winner will be. And that's not all. But wait, there's more. Another one of you will also win a business consultancy. So stay tuned. That could be you. All right, Jacqui, we're ready for you now. Ready, ready, ready. We've got to get to the meat of the matter.
Okay.
I like how you match with the background, by the way.
Oh, wow.
You came prepared. So you're an accomplished master chef and event planner. You create the ultimate dining experience. But give us a synopsis of what your business was like pre-COVID-19.
It was, okay, it was in a total, I would say, we're about switching. We looked at the brand and decided to find other ways. How could we were changed. So just before COVID, we decided to come out of canteen operations, which we did. And we ran up to at least 5 canteens across Jamaica. And we decided how to get out of the mass business and go into the more corporate, exclusive, luxe, all those fancy words, servicing our clients, our big corporate clients by being, bringing it to the table to them. As we close and we're getting to remodel and we're getting sensitized to the dishes and the menus, here came COVID. I remember COVID announcements were made to us as we were in a boardroom doing actually breakfast. We do, those are some of the things we did. A boardroom breakfast, corporate wants to entertain clients, could be courts, and you bring them into a corporate setting breakfast. Then the news of COVID came. At first I thought this is going to be a month. This is going to pass. This is going to be like Chick
Everybody was saying that, like 3 months, more or less.
2 months, you slept enough, you ate enough, you got frustrated. I didn't know what to do. And then it took us now, we're on the brink of Mother's Day. So I remember when the team got together, it was so interesting because, as I say, it relates to Courts. Courts was doing a grocery box. And that, they can tell you, they were doing this grocery box. I don't know, I went to the box company and they were doing this grocery box. So then I said, so why don't we do Mother's Day in a box? So I said, how that going to happen? And so we did our first boxed Mother's Day, meaning that we found a box that was nice enough to package everything. So you could enjoy our cuisine in your house under COVID, during that time. And that was amazing because we were sold out in moments. And then Father's Day came, we're sold out again. And the box opportunity continued until we did, we right through Christmas, it was your ham, it was your side dishes, because you couldn't come out to dine. So we brought dining to you way before we had, the whole delivery service. There were still some events that were barely happening or some things. Curfew was on us. If you understand, when you have to cook food for any amount, we do it fresh. So you have to be in the kitchen 4:35 a.m. My staff was very resilient. They actually sometimes camped out, and it wasn't glamping, but they actually camped out from the evening before so that you could get up at 4 o'clock and turn on the stoves and get the things done so we could deliver by 10 a.m. It was a very challenging time, and so we decided the company that we were actually going to start, why not start it? And that company was to be called Luke's Privé, which means that we would offer you anything you want. So that hit.
What was it called?
Luke's Privé by Jacqui
Privé.
Tyson. Yeah. Private luxury. So if it's your birthday, if it's an anniversary, and you could send a dinner, we would go out and scurry and find the right gift. It could be flowers. It was anything you wanted to give to someone. And then we found people calling us from overseas that, their grandparents, they weren't able to come up for Christmas. It was somebody's birthday, it was somebody's anniversary. And there we go again, delivering boxes and the whole experience. When we could, we'd include a waiter who would set up, and then we would put the food out, 3 courses, 4 courses, 5 courses. We found a way. And I said, well, if the Chinese do it, why we can't do it? You get Chinese food in little containers, and each box had, you got your list of instructions, and this is how you were to use them. They were microwavable containers, so you could microwave them. And this is your first course, and your written menu is there as if I'm there talking. And it just took us out into a whole nother
That sounds so nice.
dimension. And then we decided, okay, how do we apply Luke's Privé now to separate the brands from the mass catering to the personalized stuff? And we just kept the whole boxes going. And that took us through COVID in a smaller state because you weren't earning as much as if you were doing
events.
The events, but it brought income in. It was able to pay the staff. And one thing that it was good at was putting the brand out there. Then the next thing that we prior to me getting into very much cooking, we were very big into street promotions. There's no event. So we embarked on a street promotion. And we had ambassadors, dancers, and we just toured the island promoting different people products. And that took off and kept us in the vein, nothing to do with cooking, but kept us in the vein out there. But we dealt with it like a project. And then out came, as different turns, different things, different things for churches, graduations. We just basically was able to bring fun to our location in a protected manner. Everything sanitized, everything controlled. You couldn't make noise, but we would bring you the music. We would bring you that kind of environment that you can't go to, but we would bring it inside of your home.
How did you come up with that idea?
It Most things start out with just a passion, and then something happens, and it's a ricochet effect. And you do one, and then somebody calls you, oh, I saw that you did so and so, can I get it? And so you have to be quick on the phone. You have to answer your phone. You have to have their technological setup, which is big, WhatsApp. You do social media. We'd put something out on social media, Instagram. And if we plan to do 40, by the end of the day, we have 50, 60. So we have to now see how we can handle that. Because when you're doing it in the multiples, you want to keep the quality and keep it consistent.
Was there ever a time where you kind of panicked in the early stages?
I panicked because I'm more panicked for the survival of my team.
Right. Because you have staff to pay.
You have staff to pay. How do I give them work? So we took the time out first and we did inventory. And we repackaged everything. And we reacquainted ourselves with everything when there was nothing else to do, because remember now you had lockdown, so people couldn't come out to work. And of course, some of my staff are in Portmore. Some of them are in places that you can't travel to. So we kept that tight link and that tight buzz. I don't know, it just persistent. You just kept on it. You just kept on it. You just couldn't close your doors. You couldn't tell people no. The phone kept ringing. It could be, remember now, you can't see people, touch people, so people would send things to people. And that people would want you to be on the road to touch their clients. And that kept us going.
Yeah, and like I said in the intro, there are some businesses in your field, in your industry, that closed down.
Yes,
completely.
Because if you were a standalone business, lucky for us, which was good, we got very slim before COVID. When I say slim, in meaning that I were able to close the businesses that had heavy real estate attached to it, close the businesses that, where you developed on walk foot traffic, and join into the business where you were doing customization. So you could curate, I curate for my clients. I never do the same thing twice. So when people ask me for things like pigtail, time, it was coming to you in different ways. We experimented with so many different ways of packaging, from vacuum sealing. We learned everything so that we could be able to supply people who were driving through Kingston who just wanted some pigtail, pick up a packet, a pound. I could never see myself selling a pound of pigtail, but we did quite a lot of that. We did mackerel rundown. We did by the pound, because there was this demand for people who are now at home, and people wanted to entertain and still treat themselves. And I think if you're we were in the right vein.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I remember that Mother's Day package that you did.
Yes, we did Mother's Day.
Mother's Day is one of the biggest,
Day,
if not the biggest
and then
eat-out day.
When we switched to the looks privé, meaning that now we could customize. So when our customization would come in, say for instance, a company would call us and says, we want to do 100 Mother's Day gifts to give away. We're honoring our clients. And so there we were able to do that supply. Here's your budget. We want 100 gift, and not the regular gift baskets. So there you go. So we got into packaging. We had to learn everything, how to shrink wrap, how to package, how to make wooden crates. So that was
Logistics.
A whole new arm.
Delivery.
Delivery.
A whole
Yes.
The whole logistics you had to figure out.
I remember we had one client who said, we can't do staff awards, but we have to do staff awards. We said, how do you have to deliver something all over the island, and simultaneous delivery. So everybody would get their awards at 2 o'clock. and be able to join in the webinar and have popcorn and a bubbly.
Wow.
So,
And you made it happen.
and we made it happen. We went scurrying all around. We got ice bags, things. You know, you really did a lot of research, and you were able to use it, and you were able to deliver, and that started a whole different opportunity in a whole different sector.
So your business has changed permanently now.
I think when I created the name from thought to finish, from yard style to gourmet, basically I'm multi-talented, so that name was created because I wanted to encompass everything I could do. The Jacqui Tyson jumping into it now has just made it a little bit more powerful and has given it a stronger branding. So when you see Jacqui Tyson from thought to finish, or Jacqui Tyson from yard style to gourmet, or Luke's Privé by Jacqui Tyson, you become to know that it's quality, it's consistency, and it's powerful.
We have our first question from the audience, so let me give this to you. It says, how do you advise growing a business with a lot of competitors? For example, food delivery services or a clothing store, so on.
I think you have to find out something intricate, what makes you different. Competition is very good. You'll notice where one good restaurant opens, a lot opens. But what you have to do is decide how you're going to build your brand, how you're going to make your product separated from the rest. Everybody does boiled dumpling, but what are you going to do with yours? How are you going to tweak yours to be different? Are you going to put something in there? Are you going to give away a spoon of saltfish with it? Are you going to price it? How are you going to package it? Are you going to put it in foil? Are you going to get a box? Who is your target market? Exactly what is your aim? How much money do you want to make at the end of the day? Are you covering all your costs? All of those things are important. People say they don't like competition, but competition makes you keep on your toes. It makes you keep records. It makes you, wake up with a buzz if you're passionate about this. Because if you're passionate, the way you present and the way you do, people will respond.
Right, so the key is to differentiate yourself in
Differentiate,
some type of way.
Give your brand a signature. Give your food a signature. Everybody does fried chicken in this country, but the person who does the fried chicken and can be able, I never even know people that curry goat gravy, oxtail gravy in a box, and then easy way to say how much fried chicken do I need to sell to meet the bills and pay myself at the end of the day. And you start from that and work backwards.
Yes.
But costs are very important. And competition is all good.
Because it inspires you and motivates you.
Because even with COVID, a lot of people who lost their jobs with corporate companies or were working from home opted to go into what was their sidekick, which was catering and cooking meals and selling meals. So therefore what you have is a lot of people, we call them people with no overheads. Remember now you're running, you have staff, you have to rent to pay, and then there are people who would drive up and just open their car trunk and out comes food. And it's probably very good because they're doing a small quantity and they're doing it themselves. And they'll drive up and they'll be able to sell a lunch $100 less than you, $50 less than you. How do you compete? You have to really sometimes go back to the drawing board and do something that they don't do.
You said something really interesting just now, that when you are, so you're buying from somebody who's producing a small quantity, so the quality is probably going to be very good.
Yes.
But you cater from, you said, from 2,000 to 3,000.
Yes, yes.
So how do you maintain your quality when you're providing for that number of people?
Cooking is a science. Biology, chemistry. Prepping is important. When you cost something, we break it down. I mean, my sister is my numbers lady. You break it down from the raw chicken, the season you're putting on it, the time. A lot of people don't look at the logistics. Time management is key. How long does it take? It take me 5 minutes, 50 minutes to cook a whole chicken. How long is it going to take me to cook 500 chickens? So time and motion study, which is part of every industry. So you have to put that in place. You have to look at the oven. You have to look at your equipment. You also have to look at, okay, when I set this menu, in terms of preparation, what are the 3 items? So you're going to do chicken, you're going to do some veg, and you're going to do some rice. Where's the wow factor? because of events, everything must begin with a wow. What is the sweetener? How I'm going to make that person who got that box lunch feel, or because by now it's a box lunch, or got that conference lunch, feel like I got something special. And that also has to do, we don't use much powdered seasoning. We make our own marinades, we make our own sauces, and we use everything fresh, you know. So you've got to have great relationships with your suppliers. But it's a Best Rest Chicken or a CB, or you know, the market person who delivers your vegetables to you straight from Coronation. Maybe your vegetable that you set out is not going to be the frozen peas, because those are going to be different. But to be able to go to Coronation and get chocho, and do chocho in slivers and saute with just a little bit of carrot. Maybe you have to put a little honey on your carrots because they're not that great. String bean, you know, is another thing that holds up. Then you're going to find out, now, how do I make gravy? Then you make the gravy before we make all our sauces separate. So that if we're doing an event and we're doing barbecue, we make like maybe 10 to 15 gallons of barbecue sauce prior to the event. So apart from putting the chicken, put it on the coals, then brushing it with the sauce, it's already done and it's already costed. Costing is key, and then logistic, timeline, delivery.
Absolutely.
And the clock. The clock is always, so that is why when I say to people, we're in the kitchen from 4, they're like, 4 o'clock? Why? Because when you time a motion study, according to how much flames I have and how much oven space,
Right.
I got to start earlier. How much holding space. And all of that is very important. Sometimes you have to cook all night. I mean, when we do, like, for instance, we are a big sponsor of Sagicor Run. We don't sleep. That's a sleepless night. You know, you don't sleep at all. Your crew preps until 4. You give them a 3-4 hour break. Everybody's back in the kitchen at 10 to be able to crank out that kind of cuisine that is going to be different from the rest. I mean, we did the Best Dress run about a week ago, and we had fried dumplings. And you know, fried dumpling is one of the things, if it get too cold, it get too hard.
Yeah, it's not
So
good.
I had to have people doing fried dumpling. Just, you have to choose. Sometimes you have to subcontract. Sometimes you have to find, you can't do everything on your same burners. And we were picking up like 450 fried dumplings at 5:30 in the morning. So somebody who got up early in the morning just made your fried dumplings for you. So it's the logistics, it's the energy, it's putting
Amazing.
everything in place. Yes.
Amazing. And I think that's something that people don't really understand. They see you as a chef, Chef Jacqui Tyson,
Yeah.
but they don't realize it really is a
We
business.
say it's really,
It's
and
a
some people said to me,
business.
do you really cook? I said, seriously, so? But then when you have a big function, it's not about you getting lost in the pot. It's about you driving the mechanism. It's about you setting the plans. So we have a big event, you have a wedding. You have to choose, I mean, I'm choosing from the plate. I discussed with the team how the food is going to come out on that plate. What is our garnish? What is the wow factor in this plate? Okay, what sauce? Does that sauce complement this? Is it seasoned? When we're going to start seasoning salmon, it has to be 24 hours before. You know, so it's a lot more. When you can cook, you can create any recipe. And you can break it down for anyone. I can tell anyone on the phone, okay, let me tell you how to make a béarnaise. Start this. Listen to me. Just follow the steps. So,
What's your number again?
or people would say, I've done so much. Like I remember during COVID, we did recipes for people, like how to do to take your ramen noodle that you buy in the pack and actually make a whole dish out of it.
Nice.
You know, I did a whole
Gourmet on
slide
a
of
budget.
videos. Yes.
But I think really listening to you, Jacqui,
Yeah.
it really drives the point home that no matter what industry you're in, it's vital for your business survival to focus on the business and the logistics, the planning. You can be the best candle maker in the world, the best chef in the world, the best fashion designer in the world, but your business won't survive unless you treat it like a business. If you
Yes.
don't focus on the accounting, on the logistics, on the details, even if you're the best of the best, the business won't survive unless you have all these things ironed
Yes,
out, unless you can actually make money from what you're doing.
You know, to make money, you have to sometimes spend money. And not all the time that you will do everything. But if you know your cost, you'll know your break-even point. It's been a struggle. and you have to hold it down. Like imagine a man riding a horse and you have the reins. The reins, that horse is your business, and you're really holding down the reins and you're really saying, how do I keep this horse from spiraling, from going left, from going right? The focus is down there. I got to keep him and take him through. And one of the things is you have to always know your food cost. Food cost in restaurants and catering is 33 and a third percent of your cost. If your garbage bin is heavy, that means you're in trouble. And
What do you mean by that? You're throwing away too much?
you're throwing away too much. Like for instance, in the kitchen, good chef will tell you there's really no waste. Your peelings and your garlic and your onion peelings are made into broth for your soup and to cook your rice. So you start out with flavor. And people have to understand, if you did chemistry, we're building flavor. We're not destroying. And a lot of people tend to overcook and then the stuff don't sell. So you need to add flavor and so nothing waste. Then you need to have strong accounting. Treat each day as an accounting measure, because you have to pay your taxes, you have to pay utilities, you have to pay staff, and you have to pay yourself.
Amazing.
Yes.
Well, so we have a lot of questions coming in the chat. Ooh, wow, I didn't check my phone in a minute. They're piling up. Okay, so the next question, Jacqui, somebody wants to know, did you collaborate with different businesses to help survive the pandemic?
I would say collaboration, yes. You had to put yourself out there. A lot of people got very frustrated and literally died in terms of not being able to be visual. So sometimes we sought ways to be visual. Like we learned, we had to find out what boxes were on the island. So I had to find out all the suppliers of boxes, who was still up, food boxes, how am I going to do this? So when somebody makes a call to you and said, okay, we want 300 meals for staff working late, you would then have to know the box, because plates are no longer. You have your fork. So you collaborated with your suppliers. One of the things in business that I learned very early is to establish relationships. Relationships with your suppliers, with your bank, with your financing, with your accountant, legal. You need to foster relationships. So those people keep you in check and they'll help you. And when you have a network of suppliers, you are able, sometimes, you don't have the funds to buy the product, but they will give you the product and they'll give you a longer time to repay. And one hand wash the other. I always say when my phone rings, a lot of other people's phone rings. And I keep it like that because even in giving people the work of being your food service attendants, waiters, waitresses, bartenders, you can't, most of them are not on full-time employment. So they are freelancers. So you have to call them, you have to nurture relationships, respectful relationships, so that when you call, they will turn out. And even the chefs, you have chefs who are freelancers. So you're collaborating with other people in your industry that when you have an overflow, that they will jump in and help you because you know the hands that is needed.
I love that. When my phone rings, a lot of other people's phone rings.
Yes.
It's just facts. Next question. How can small businesses plan ahead so that they can be flexible and survive future problems similar to the pandemic? Hopefully we don't get anything similar to the
We hope
pandemic.
we never get another pandemic as we're coming out of this. But one of the things I've talked to small business people when they're starting out, and I was lucky to have had a mother, God rest her soul, who was a chartered accountant. So for me, I had a different base than most people. And she was very integral into things like record keeping, taxes. Remember, along in business, I also had 2 fires that literally destroyed everything I had. I had a fire in Temple Hall and I had a fire at Ashenai.
When was that?
The fire at Temple Hall was about just before I went to Conference Center. So that was about 2010, 2011. And everything I had was gone. Buying, so I had plates and glasses for 1,000 people. I had tablecloths, I had furniture. I was fully big into event. It was all gone in one fire. And then later on in the game, That's when we made the switch just before the pandemic. We were at Ashenine, and there was a big fire with the hardware store, and we were on the side building, and we lost all our records, all our other supplies. And, I had to rise above all of that time and we said, listen, this is it. Let's make a turn. Let's not give up hope. And you have to find strength in that. I remember I went into canteen management because I thought that people ate, only good meal they had in the day was at lunch. And so when we started canteens, we were doing very well because we were working from a central kitchen, operational. So we would send out stuff from one main kitchen. And then cost escalated, and I could no longer produce the food the way I wanted to at the price that you had to do. So it was a very sad parting. I still miss it because I still think people need to eat at least one healthy meal for the day. And quick service meal operations are very sensitive because you can easily go over the edge, and when you do your cost, you end up in the minus. So when the cost showed signs of rickety, we decided, okay, we have to cut the canteen, we have to cut the volume let's focus. Then conference center went under refurbishing. So then all of a sudden our mass base was gone. So we have to rework the product again to take in where we're going to get, where's our direct consumer? Okay, corporate events. The Sagicors, the Burritas, the BNS, you name it, the B-Mobiles, the Lime, the Flows, the parties was another factor. We were like the breakfast party supplier. We were Cabana City. We ended up sponsoring, because one of the things I realized early, you got to keep the brand out there. And it gave us a wonderful boost. And it gave us a wonderful, because Instagram and people have to be able to find you. So
yeah, when you see that tag on an event catered by Chef Jacqui Tyson from start to finish, it's a luxurious event.
Yes,
you're gonna get your money's worth. So many gems coming from Jacqui. We have more questions coming. Speaking of, you were talking about just now knowing when to recognize that a certain element of the business isn't working and you have to just transition or pivot. This next question says, with inflation at its highest, how do you price to stay ahead of your competitors while providing an affordable cost?
That is where the magic begins. Because you've got to be able to, wastage has to come down similar. You have to design your offerings so that you can put it at a separate cost. And sometimes when you go out, I find with food, people don't sometimes, if you say to a man, for me to do your wedding, it's going to be 3,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 or 10,000. And he says, but that's too much. And, he gets indignant. But when you think of a lamb chops raw is $900 average. One lamb chops. No, nobody wants one. They want 2 or 3. So you've gone 3,000 raw. You haven't cooked it yet. So when you think like that, you realize that costing is very important. And sometimes you have to say no. You really have to, because you'd be in a worse position if you push to do it, because you're going to end up in a minus. So sometimes when clients call us and we sit and we say, the first question we ask, what is your budget? What do you want to spend on this event? Sometimes people get ruffled. They think you're obnoxious or so. But it's not that. It's because we can create, if you say you have $5 to spend, we can create something for $5. I mean, sometimes they go really low, but I'm just saying compared to letting me create something for you for $50. So asking someone what is their budget. Sometimes when you ask it early on and you have discussion, and you let people look around, you say, when you go to the supermarket, this is what it is. Buying in bulk is another way to buying direct from the suppliers. A lot of small people shop in supermarkets. We sometimes have to run in. Price Mart brings you some bulk items at a discounted rate, but going straight to the Grace and the Wysinkos and the CPJs really get you the stuff in a bulk state. It depends, And sometimes you have to invest in stock. So your stock that you have in your freezer, It's not for you to go and have Sunday dinner. Because if you buy a case of lamb chops and you only use half, the next half, if you package it properly, is for the next event. It's not for 5 Sunday dinner. Because then the cost of the lamb chops are going to be borne on the event that didn't use the whole case. So, it's just a matter of how you cost, package, plan your menus, execute. And sometimes we have to say no. It's difficult, but you have to have strong communication with the client. And you have to learn to plan an expensive item with a cheaper item.
Yes.
So you have to learn what is cheap. You have to learn to turn, like for instance, it's not cheap, but for instance, we do curry jackfruit. And people are amazing. We didn't even know jackfruit with curry. But versus you wanting to have something like that, versus the cost of mutton, the jackfruit is going to give you a higher yield. And you can negotiate the price and you can sometimes get it at a reduced cost. Not to saying one isn't, but I'm just saying this is what you have to look at. Imported against local. Chicken, I've done jerk chicken back, and it's a great item. People are like, how do you do this? But you've got to be able to look at what we produce as a country and see how we can tweak it. Sometimes what we produce here is more expensive than what is imported. Sometimes what is imported is more expensive. But so you have to have it, you have to balance. Balance is key. Balance is key.
Brilliant. I've been here writing notes crazily because balance, plan an expensive item along with a cheaper item. That's a good tip.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just have to say no. Super important. If you can't make it work on their budget, you just can't make it work.
You can't make it
and
work.
And then great opening question, what is your budget? So find out from the client what is their budget from the get-go, so you know what how to manage their expectations. You know what you can afford to provide based on the budget. And it's not always necessarily a bad thing or that the client's budget is small. Sometimes their budget is bigger than you expected.
Or sometimes you ask them, what is the experience you want? And sometimes people are doing an event and they call in, so it's my birthday and I really have to celebrate. And then you ask them, what's the experience? What is the food experience you want people to have? Sometimes people just want to say, listen, I've been collecting liquor. I'm having the turning thing that people are posing on now. I'm doing this. So really and truly, I just want to give somebody something to eat. So I really curry goat and rice and some barbecue chicken. We do that. But then you understand, okay, this is exactly, and not that it's demeaning or anything. It's that you have now been on the same communication with your client, that they're not driving, the food is not driving the event. Food is just a part of the event. Then there are other people that will tell you, listen, it's my birthday, in the same breath, but I'm a foodie. I want people to have this food experience. And then you can guide them differently,
So we have a lot more questions, and one of them was, how does the current supply chain disruption affect your business? Is it mostly on the imported side?
No, there's some stuff that are made that you can't, there are missing items. But we in Jamaica have not been able to feel the brunt of it as yet. I say give it until Christmas is when we're really going to be a tricky time for us. For instance, there are certain items, remember now wheat and corn is affected in many things. So if you don't, pastas and things like that are not made here, that are imported, could get very scarce. And we have become a pasta-loving country. Oh, we love a pasta, a live station, a pasta with shrimp. I mean, there's things in our milk powder that are not necessarily sometimes made here. Thanks to companies like Rainforest and all the chicken companies that we are enabled to get their products quite easily. But then again, you will have the feed, the component that goes to make the chicken, feed the chicken healthy, maybe the product that is short.
Right.
So it is not necessarily that we have...
Even for the ground provisions, the fertilizer
the fertilizers and those things. So what we have to do is create your recipes. I mean, we did a breakfast the other morning, and saltfish is an imported item. And we did it with sausage from Best Dress, and we did jerk sausage and ackee. and it was good. We did saute yam instead of hash browns, the imported item. So we did sauteed yam, and people were like, "Whoa, I've never had yam like
And
that."
people wouldn't even know
No,
it's
yeah,
because you had to substitute at
We
the
had,
last minute. They
we
think,
had to,
oh,
and we
the
lied,
brilliant Jacqui
yes,
Tyson just come up
yes,
with this new thing.
this new thing. We had to substitute because I had said, hash brown and then ham. We have done curry chicken thighs. You don't have to do the whole chicken. And then we decided, oh my God, what we're going to put with that. So we did doubles, you know. We got some, doubles is almost like a different form of dumpling. But people like newness. They like to create. So sometimes when you get into catering, you have to get creative. You can't stay in the same pan. So I have to do my boiled dumpling and I have to just do my fried dumpling. Come out the box. We did doubles. We did roti strips. We did the different things that you could do with the same subject and not have to be bored.
We have a very interesting question here from a 19-year-old Jacqui. His name is Tyrese Townsend, and he says he's probably the youngest person on this webinar. I just want to know how to keep persistent trying to establish a business. The reason I say this is because I started a business 4 years ago in high school. So wow, you're 15 when you started, nice. To help with my schooling because my parents weren't financially stable. I got a job this year, 2022, and bought my machine that I needed. After a day after purchasing my machine, I lost my job. Oh no, that was gonna fuel my business. What advice do you have for me, especially like how I invested my first ever salary to buy the machine and then cannot collect it from the shipping company because no, he doesn't have a job.
Okay, I would say you need to put a business plan and come to Ready Cash. That's the place you need to go because you're a perfect client in this case. Because when I heard what Ready Cash does, you need what is called some temporary financing. If you've done your business model and you know that you can sell, what you're needed is some financing now that will clear that machine, give you some startup funds, some seed money, so that you can put out your first batch. And if you keep yourself focused, remember now, even you pay yourself, you don't pay yourself, it's a loan to the company. But you may cover for your light, your water, because you're working out of home. A lot of people think, don't get caught into the thing where you feel like the first $100, the first $1,000 you make, you're going to go have big drinks with your friend. You literally have to put everything back in the business at least for 2 years. And when I say that to people, because sometimes you do and you get away and you get a loan from Ready Cash. Say he got $1 million. Wow, the first thing is what for me, the spree thing, there is never a spree time. There is never, you work for yourself, you never have a holiday. You have to put things back. You have to be fierce. You have to be focused. You have to know the marketplace. And I think you should come on down to Ready Cash because if the machine is on the wharf, then you need to clear it. You need to put it into existence. And I'm so glad because I remember when I started business 20 years ago, you couldn't get a loan because who's going to give you a loan to buy equipment? You could disappear in the night. And places like courts are now doing that. So if you present yourself, and I'm sure you can, write your business plan. There's a thing called a cash flow, and I think courts has business connectors that will do it, Kalia, from what I understood. And then you have your cash flow, which basically is your incoming and your outgoing expenses. Put that together, and you will be able to say how much money you'll make from borrowing 500,000, 200,000.
You know, I love that you said that because a lot of people are afraid of loans, afraid because they say, oh, it's debt. I don't want to go into debt for my business early. What are your thoughts on using debt for your business?
I think you need it, but importantly, you must remember that it is a cost. It is a cost that's every day. So people do, it's funny, Jamaicans do partner. Partner is a loan in a true way because a partner runs for a year and you get one draw. So you're really putting your money, and even before you're putting enough, you're getting a lump sum. So you're really taking a loan from a system. So if you look at it like that, it's easier for me to go to an organized institution like courts to really, or any small lending agency, to really put down how you're going to spend that money on paper. But it is to do a simple delivery service. I will show you. We have guys that do delivery for us, and they need to buy a bike. A bike is $150,000. But from buying the bike for $150,000, another 30 or 40,000 to register it. So you've gone 200. But yet still, per delivery, you're going to get paid $350. If you can do 10 deliveries for the day, that's 3,500. 5 days, that's 15,500. For the month, so you can round off 20,000 with a weekend. With a week, you have done 80,000. 80,000 can pay your livelihood and still pay back the organization that loan you the money to buy the bike. So it's a lot of people want to borrow the money. It's instant. They wanted to do something right now, and they're not thinking about the longevity. You have to think, where do I want to be this year, next year? If you can't do that, then just do 6 months. You may want to be, you like photography, you may want to borrow money to buy a photographer, to be a photographer, because everybody needs somebody now creative. You may want to do social media management, but you may need the computer. You're going to need the camera. You're going to need to run up and down, so you're going to need transportation funding. Whether it is to buy a small car, or whether you're going to start out on foot, because if you came to somebody like me and you say, okay, I can cover, I can give you social media, I can be creative and create the content. But you must remember that part of your cost factors is your loan repayment.
Brilliant. Brilliantly said, Jacqui. It's very, very important for you to remember that, and like you said, it's not a spree. You get the loan, you can't just go out and spend it. And remember as well, if you're using a credit card, for example, it's also a loan. You can't just
a credit card is a loan.
You can't just get it and go spree.
Yeah.
You know, you have to think of how you're going to repay it. If you're getting funds from Courts Ready Cash, you have to think, how am I going to repay it? Is it sustainable? Will I be bringing in enough business to be able to repay this
I remember
loan?
someone told me, when I was training in Europe, that you're not in business till you're in debt. And I had a hard time. I don't want to borrow any money. I was in that fear. It's scary. But then you realize that you're not into real business until you owe somebody.
Ooh.
You know? You owe somebody. Every day in business, you owe somebody. Every day of life, you're owing JPS and National Water and your landlord, you know, so you're owing somebody. So when you go into business, you've just added another, creditor to your life. But the thing again is balance, focus, and doing the maths. And if you can't do the maths, sit down. There's some people, that they call them hustlers. They can sit down and they pen it out to a T. If I spend I'm going to make $5 here, $10. Some people do it on a daily basis. So it's whatever happens, it's calculating, it's running.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Let me say this has been such an informative session with Jacqui. We have all learned so much. I've been writing notes. I hope you have been as well, because there is so much to learn here that's applicable not just to the food industry or the events industry, but to any business that you are trying to run. So I have not forgotten you, our viewers. We made a promise at the start of this webinar, and when you were signing up, that we do have some giveaways to do. You have a $50,000 shopping spree right here at Courts, and we also have a business consultation. So let's see who has won our first prize. And this is the $50,000 Courts voucher. Congratulations to, drumroll please, congratulations to LeVar Henry. LeVar Henry, you have won the $50,000 Courts voucher. You've been rewarded for sticking around to the end of our session. Big up yourself, LeVar Henry. I recognize that name. Yes, yes. And our next giveaway was for the business consultation. Super important as well. You got some great free business advice here from Jacqui today, but there is an opportunity for you to have a one-on-one business consultation courtesy Courts Ready Cash. And the winner of that business consultation is Olivine Nelson. Congratulations, Olivine. Yay.
Yeah, congrats, Olivine.
You were selected as the winner because you were the first person to register for this webinar. Olivine said Jacqui's name and said, click.
Okay,
I must be there.
Yes, I hope I answered some questions that she had in mind or wanted to know.
Yes, I feel like I could talk to Jacqui all evening. Like so many questions and such insight. How long have you been in business, Jacqui?
I've been in business for maybe about 24, 25 years.
Enough years.
Yes, and I mean, I've had a good run in terms of I've done many things. I didn't just start out and set and get up, but actually going in the food and events industry, I started out with only $25 US.
Really?
Yes, I came back to Jamaica, $25 US. I used to do food. I used to do promotion for different communities all over the world in terms of promoting Caribbean cuisine and their products. And then I decided to come back to make Jamaica back my base. And a friend of mine says, why don't you stay and start a business? Nobody does what you do. And I said, what do I do? She said, enough things. So hence, from thought to finish,
25 US, you started
25
your
US dollars
with.
in my pocket.
And you employ how many people now?
I've had, right now in employment, I have about 25. But I've employed up to 100 persons on payroll. You have 25 intermittently. I would say I have a core of 10 people, but the rest is made up of freelancers, the rest drivers, so you
Amazing.
You get what you call when you need people, and it's been an exciting trip, and I've learned serious business principles. As I said, passion, persist until something happens. A friend of mine from Trinidad, that was his thing. He said to me, Jacqui, life is all about push. And I'm like, push, push, push. I actually had to give him a gift. He was leaving a company that's here, and they said, oh, he loves to talk about push. So I said, oh, let me curate him some hand cards. So he got a gift of different Jamaican-made little hand cards. And when I carried it, I said, why do you say that you like to push? What does it mean? And he said, persist until something happens.
Nice.
That word, push.
Wow.
And I said, I never thought of it. He said,
persist until something happens. Push.
And that has stayed in my mind. I think he's about to write a book on that whole subject matter. And he thought it was so funny that we took it to the hand cart. And what was synonymous? And he said, the hand cart vendor never stops pushing.
True.
Never stops persisting, pushing until something happens. That's how they make their money.
So insightful.
So I had interpreted his slogan without understanding what it is to give him a goodbye gift. But the gift brought me a total understanding of pushing my passion until something happens.
So insightful, so inspirational. Yeah. She started her business with $25 US and an idea. She has taken it through the past 25 years, developed a business, a brand, employing dozens of people over the years, as many as 100 people. Like she said at one point during this webinar, when my phone rings, many people's phone ring. Yeah. And I love that. I love that for our people. So you can do it too. Do not be afraid to step out there, to push, persist until something happens.
Yes.
Don't be afraid of approaching Quartz Ready Cash, and don't be afraid of debt, because it can help you in your business. So thank you so much for being here, Jacqui. This was really, really insightful and really motivational. So remember, if you are a small or micro business seeking support, please reach out to Quartz on their website, readyfinancecaribbean.com, or you can send them a direct message at 876-562-1635 or 876-492-3192. Let me repeat those numbers for you. That's 876-562-1635. Write it down. Or 876-492-3192. And you can contact them. A member of the team will reach out to you. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been my extreme pleasure to host the 5th in the Quartz Ready Cash Business Survivor webinar series with our special guest, Jacqui Tyson. Keep watching this space to see what the next exciting topic will be and the next guest. And in the culinary world at this time, we would say, bon appetit. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm Kalila Reynolds. See you next time.